Welcome to the PHNX Wildcats Show, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Head to any Circle K Arizona location where you can get any size Polar Pop or Froster for just 79 cents now through September 3rd. I think Saul Bookman will be taking that up. Hello, Saul Bookman. How are you doing today?
That was a very odd intro, Mike.
Yes, it is.
Because that is not your voice at all.
Well, you know what? I wanted to throw things off here a little bit. Right, how about that? Yes. I'm also not used to the Studio K intro. We
had no music either. It was very odd.
Yes,
this whole setup was just, I mean, Kevin, come on, man.
Yeah, no,
get it together.
Hey, look, that's on me. That's on me, Coach. Sorry.
Kevin's
about
a massive hit already on Shear's board, but Kevin, that will be an L for you today. But anyways, we've got a lot to get to today. We're going to talk about fan engagement. We're going to talk about the Arizona depth chart, maybe some sillies that were put out by the coaching staff. We're also going to preview New Mexico. There's a lot of different things that we're going to be talking about. But first, Saul, Michael Lepp from the Arizona Daily Star put out an article talking about the fan engagement and about how there's basically been none for Arizona. This game has snuck up on a lot of people. There's not really any events going on. What is your take on fan engagement and the role of a school at like the University of Arizona?
It's such a complicated question because are we talking about where are we going with this program and the school and what's the identity? Or are we trying to compare it to other Big 12 schools and where we're headed, right?
Right.
And when it comes to fan engagement, I'll be the first to say I don't think it's really been relevant at all. Like, I mean, can you remember anything that was like for the fans this offseason?
Nothing.
You know, it's been pretty quiet.
Literally
right?
nothing.
And listen, I think part of it is also just trying to get your feet wet and trying to get accustomed to what's going on a day-to-day basis. If you're Brett Brennan and trying to get refamiliarize yourself with the environment again. And I get that. But listen, they did some stuff fan engagement wise when they went on the road and they did these like road shows. Okay.
Right.
But in Tucson, they could have done a better job of really building hype. There's also no, like, I guess from what I was told, I think you told me that there was no like First Fridays this year until we get to like October.
Right.
And so where is the enthusiasm for this season? Because it very much feels like a lot of people are wanting to be very excited about this.
And there's been no email. T. Burns put that out. There's been no email about how this is a whiteout game or just, anything like that. I mean, people don't even really know kind of what's going on. And to me, listen, if you're Alabama or you're Georgia or it's a place that sells itself, I get it. You don't want to engage the fans. I get it. I mean, they're going to show up regardless. And at the end of the day, if Arizona football wins games, none of this really does matter. But at the end of the day, Arizona football is an entity that is ranked. You have a lot of really good football players, and it just seems to me kind of like a missed opportunity because you're coming in here, and it's not like you don't know that you've got a lot of marketable players on this team. I mean, you've got players that have a great story to tell, and just the fact that it's basically been so hush hush when you've got a team that is going to be in contention for the Big 12. I don't know. Like I said, I liked Lev's article. I thought it was a pretty good. I thought it was pretty well put out.
So Billeton 71 says, are they trying to crunch the numbers to make up the hope that they're in a hole? And I'm like, in my opinion, listen, I think we would all tell you Business 101 tells you like you have to market in order to accrue more dollars.
Right.
And the fact that they didn't really market, I don't feel like they've marketed very well at all for this football season and building enough hype to get people to buy season tickets. I think basically we're living off of what happened at the end of last season and the feel-good vibes that we had by Noah and company staying put. After that died off, it kind of just died off and it was like business as usual outside of the fact that they didn't really promote a lot of things. And I don't understand that at all.
And the thing about it, too, that let's just say, and you don't want this to happen, obviously, but let's say Arizona goes 0-2 and fans stop showing up. Well, the people that are going to be saying, hey, we need the fans here are also the people that weren't engaging at all. So I just don't get it. It always seems to me like something at the U of A. And listen, I know some of Jed Fish's stuff was kind of corny. I get all of that. But at the same time, he made fans feel like they were invested in what they wanted to do. Listen, at the end of the day, if Arizona wins, this won't really be an issue. But you don't win, and you're also saying, hey, we need you out at the games. Well, you had all offseason to try to, market this, and you didn't.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to this. Like, there's a certain amount of pride that is involved with selling yourself, and with the NIL era. I don't know. Listen, it's hard to speak to like the details and how in depth this is all going to go. Somebody said, is this on Brennan, or is this more on, Desiree Reed-Francois?
Right.
And I would argue that it's a little bit of both. And to be honest, I'd probably veer more towards Desiree than I would anything else, because, again, part of getting out of the red is to promote and push and accrue more dollars to help you get out of that hole. And I just don't feel like they've really tackled that much. Right. I will give that to Jedd Fisch. Jedd Fisch was very much on brand with being on social media, which is part of the marketing play, right? He got fans excited, the whole, gift, the transfer gift, so he built up a little bit of hype in that regard. Brett Brennan's quieter. He's got a different approach, and I get that. But you have to have somebody on staff or in your social media realm that is pushing these narratives of, we're one of the best teams in the country, we're going to compete for a CFP, we're going to be in a new conference. The new conference should have sold itself. Right. That was a layup. Right. Throw a hype video of going to Manhattan, Kansas, and Central Florida, and all these other cool places you get to go to this season, and make sure that, hey, we got to build up our own home field advantage. And they didn't do any of that. So it's a little weird.
Yeah. So we'll see again. Like I said, if Arizona wins it, but if he doesn't win, then it becomes a little more problematic. We will leave it at that. But
I don't know if we can leave it at that, Mike, because they got to do better.
I agree with you, man.
I will say this. Like I said this last week. Arizona has to be better across the board, and I don't really care whose feathers I ruffle with this. Like, it's 1,000,000% in their control to make sure that they're doing everything to maximize their budget as best as possible, and they didn't do that this year. Now, maybe there were some constraints that we didn't know about. Maybe there's a handoff situation from school president to school president that we don't know about. Maybe they put a freeze on everything. I don't know what it is, and maybe someday we'll find out. But basically, you have got to be better about promoting your own brand than what they have done in the last 6 months.
And it also feels like, too, like everything's just kind of happening at the, at the last minute. You get, and again, I know she took over. I get all that. But between, some of the, the commentating that's deals that were going on behind the scenes and whatnot, this all seems like it's been kind of thrown together. I get that it's a new AD. I get all of that. But at the same time, you're also walking into a really good situation here. Let's be honest. You're not walking into a situation where you have a 3-win football team, or you have a basketball team that is in the dumps. You know that you're walking in here and you've got a pretty good situation. Market it.
And listen, guys, it's fine if Brendan doesn't want to do any of that stuff, but he needs to appoint somebody too. Right. That's just, you don't get off the hook in today's day and age with the athletes that they have. They have athletes in their own building that do a better job of promoting themselves and the brand than they do. That's not good. Right. That's not good for business. Like, you have to have people, like, you think Alabama, as glorious as Alabama has been in the last 20 years under Nick Saban, you think Nick Saban's out there tweeting? No, he's not. Right. But he does have people that are out there constantly grinding to pump the Roll Tide brand, and you got to do that if you're Arizona.
Now, Andy Bryant says, a good point. Brendan is like, tell me he hated doing the media, but at the same time, that also was a different era where the media was more open. I mean, people like Anthony Gimino could go and interview players. They could get exposés. They could get scoops on players that made the people in the community feel like they were invested. You don't really get that anymore. You get kind of you get the panned press conferences, and then that's essentially it. So, like I said, I think you got to do a much better job of pushing a product that you have a good product. Again, if you don't have a good product, I kind of get it. You have a good product here. Let's make this happen.
Gringo Billy said he's already said that he'll leave it to the people who do that job. Yeah, 1,000,000%. Yeah. So they got to do it, though.
All right. Now, speaking of which, the Arizona football depth chart was released yesterday, and there are some funny things on here that we were going to talk about. Some very cool, some a little bit funny because they are not accurate. But I also love, too, the gamesmanship that comes into depth charts, too, with coaches. They know exactly who's going to start, but, with politics, like with the running back situation, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt is starting. You've got 4 oars there at the running back spot, so that always cracks me up. Now, let's look at the offense here. You got T-Mac, you got Jeremiah Patterson, and you got Montana Lamonius Craig. Obviously, no real surprises there. Devin Hyatt has been he has really made some moves during this offseason. But the one thing that I want to talk about is Cole Tannenbaum. He is a player, and this is the ultimate. Brent Brennan's talked about this, and coaches behind the scenes have talked about it. Listen, Braden Dorman was a 4-star kid. Most people thought he was going to get that. Cole Tannenbaum came in and absolutely earned that spot. And Brent Brennan has talked about how comfortable he feels with Cole Tannenbaum. I'm excited to see Cole Tannenbaum, man. Seriously, I love stories like that.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal story. Again, I don't really buy much into the depth charts. Like, who's the front line? Cool. And then after that point, I don't really care about the or. To me, the or is just trying to.
Right. I know. It's politics for sure.
Trying to provide an illusion. So I listen. This both sides of the ball, I feel like, unfolded exactly how we thought they would.
Right. Yeah. So again, if you could pull that back up there, Kev, that would be very appreciated. All right. Now, one thing, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later on in the show, though, is that there's definitely some more depth on this team than I think some people, I think a lot of people think that it's basically it's a paper tiger where it's very strong at the front and then there's no meat in the middle. I think they are wrong about this. And look at some of this. Now, on the interior offensive line, I am more than okay with the depth and the backup. I think Ryan Stewart's going to be good for Arizona this year. And if Leif Magnuson might have some good news on Leif coming back, we will see. Don't know for sure, but we might have some good news. But between Josh Baker, Grayson Stovall, and Alexander Deuce, the Deuce Boost, I am more than okay on the interior with the depth. The outside depth worries me a little bit, obviously. I'm not a massive believer right now in Michael Wooten or Matthew Lato. That will, so again, Rhino and Jonas Avenea have to stay healthy, but I do think that they got some pretty good depth on the interior, and I think the coaches have made that pretty clear at this point.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about the depth. I think they're going to be just fine. The depth that I'm really more focused on is going to be on the other side of the ball. But I think offensively, they're going to be just fine. I think they have enough explosive players at the skill positions to, even if they have a position of weakness in that front five, they'll be able to navigate around it effectively and not have to really worry so much about that.
Yeah. So, and then now if we go to the defensive side, here's where it gets interesting here. And there's all right. So I can tell you a couple things here. Isaiah Johnson and Chuba Muai. Chuba and Isaiah are going to be the ones that are getting the overwhelming majority of those snaps. Again, it's going to be in and out, but Stanley has barely played at time. Bear Anderson has, they tweeted out a picture of him injured, so I don't think that I'm really breaking any news there. I'm not going to get in trouble for that. Kevon Darton, somebody that gives you a little bit of depth, and then you've got Ty, and then you've got Trey Smith. On the interior line, I'm more than okay with this as well, Saul. I like what they put out.
No, I do. And when you look at it as a whole, it makes you feel a little bit better about where they're at, for sure. They have a little bit of depth, not a ton. And so, if injuries start to happen, then that's when you start to get a little concerned. But I think that they're going to hold up just fine. And you know what? I will buy into a little bit of what Brett Brennan said yesterday about the depth and how he feels about the defensive line, that they will surprise.
Yeah, I think the defensive line is going to surprise.
But we won't find that out until week 3.
Oh, for sure.
Because, listen, what they got coming their way this week.
It's bad. We'll get to that. Don't worry. Some of these previews too, and we're not going to blow smoke. We're not going to pretend that this is something that like Lou Holtz would always do, where he would pretend that every team he was playing was a great team. No, we're not going to do that on this show. But with the defensive line, though, like I said, I want to be able to see them just be able to kind of rotate bodies in and out. One thing that I was a little surprised, and I think people out there will find, Lance Kennelly is going to be probably your backup defensive end. So I think they're giving a shout out to Sterling Lane because ex-4-star kid played very well in camp. But overall, I'm more than okay with the D-line. Now, let's get to linebackers. Jacob Manu is starting. There is a surprise.
Shocker.
Yeah, I know. Tay Brown, though. Tay Brown, kid out of Phoenix, kid out of Chandler. He was another one. Lamont messaged me when he committed here, and he said, I really like this kid. He's turned out to be a pretty good player. Jared Small, a transfer from Tulane via LSU, via about basically 6 other places. This is in his 7th year of college. seriously. But 60 tackles last year. He's actually done a very nice job in practice as well. Interested to see what the linebackers have, and we'll find out sooner than later.
I'm excited, man. I'm really excited. That, to me, if Jacob Manu can repeat what he did last year, I mean, that's the secret sauce right there.
Yeah, exactly.
If he can compete at that high level, and you have some question marks all across this defense that we're going to have to find out about. Trey Smith is one of them. You know, we have high expectations for him, but you know he's got to prove it on the field and he's got to perform at a high level. And so the linebackers, and then obviously you kind of see where it starts to kind of morph a little bit with Trayden Stukes coming down from that safety position as well, and that star position. That star is kind of that hybrid linebacker safety position, which I think is going to be beneficial for Trayden because he can definitely ball out at that level. So I'm excited to see what these guys are going to be able to do and reposition themselves in a variety of different ways to attack what's going to be some intriguing offenses in the Big 12.
All right, now let's get to the deepest part of the entire football team. And I love what it actually, if you could go back to the defense real quick there, I do apologize, Kevin Thomas. Okay. All right, the defensive backs. This is easily this is the deepest unit on the team, and it's not even close. Now, there's a lot of different things that you want to look in. Obviously, you've got Trayden Stukes at the star. You got Takario Davis. You got Marquise Groves-Killebrew as well. Marquise Groves-Killebrew has really been kind of a revelation in camp. I think that people are hoping that he can be a little bit of that Ephesians Prysock and that you're a bigger corner that is able to, mitigate some of those bigger wide receivers. But then you get to the safeties, and it's remarkable. Dalton Johnson. Then you've got Owen Goss. Then you've got Gunnar Maldonado. You got Genesis Smith. You got Jack Luttrell. You have got a lot of different players, and at that star position, Genesis Smith backing up Trayden Stukes. I think you're going to also see Genesis Smith a lot in that dollar package as well, where you get him closer to the line. When people talk about Arizona's defensive backs, I believe this is about one of the best defensive backfields that I've seen at the U of A in a long time.
Oh, it's the best defensive backfield in school history, point blank, I think. And it's nationally recognized as such by several different outlets in terms of their rankings. I remember, if you remember, I think it was Pro Football Focus had ranked them as a top 10 total secondary unit in the country. So I think this is going to be a fantastic opportunity for this unit to really flex its muscle early on. I think they're going to listen. I have high hopes for this team, and I'm not going to say anything out of pocket, but I think in Game 3 you're going to really see what we're talking about. I think that's Arizona's been kind of left off a lot of projections for the CFP or conference title opportunities in favor of mostly Utah. Utah's been the favorite across the board. I feel like you're going to see that tide shift in our direction after that third game.
Yeah, I think you're going to see that as well. Now let's get to the special teams. Special teams fascinating for me as well. All right, now Tyler Loop. Tyler Loop is one of the best kickers that we've seen here in quite a while. I love Tyler Loop. I'm very confident in Tyler Loop. And we got to talk about Michael Salgado Medina, freshman. Listen, when Lachlan Bruce came here from Oregon, a lot of people thought he was going to walk in and get that spot. He did not. I love stories like this. Kyle Ostendorf was obviously a staple of the team for the last, 3-4 years. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of punching you get, but so far so good. Salgado Medina has definitely gotten high praise from the coaching staff.
Yeah, no, I everything here shakes out except, can you pull that back up, please? So punt returner, that's a little
no. Jack Luttrell, I will believe that one when I see it. I do not see that one as
it's got to be Fam.
Yeah, it's got to be Fam for sure. It's going to be Fam, or it's going to be Jeremiah Patterson's going to be the one that's going to be the one, but the one that's going to be the one. But Fam is going to be in there as well. I would be stunned if Jack Luttrell is actually returning punts. That one did. I think a lot of people noticed that, and they did kind of cracked up a little bit at that, but. This kind of goes into another point that I wanted to make here, and we're going to talk about that on the other side. But first, something else that I noticed on the way over. The Gila River Resorts and Casinos, the wave. Every time I see the Gila River Resorts and Casinos, I get very excited. And the reason we should is because it's a fun, immersive experience. Like, I can see our good pal Shane Diefenbach having a very good time there. Shane is a man of the people. I can see him having a good time there. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details.
More importantly, this week, Thursday, you all need to come out to our fantastic our first ever fantasy football draft live. Listen, the amount of work that we have put into this to make it the most ridiculous show you have ever seen for both just live streaming or in person cannot be undersold. I think you absolutely are going to want to come out. Listen, we want people to come out and boo. We want people to heckle. We want people to call out people for having a bad pick. It's going to be fun. It's supposed to be interactive. We have commentary. We have our 12 draftees. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be a great time. And listen, if you come out, I promise you, I will buy you a beer.
Wow. All right. Check it out. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Now, while you're at it, you might say to yourself, how could I get up there? Sanderson Ford is here to help you as well. All kinds of good stuff at Sanderson Ford. And maybe the best thing about it is you look at these cars, you look at these trucks, you look at these robust vehicles, and you're thinking, man, those things must cost an arm and a leg. There's no way I can afford it. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Check it out. Get zero OAC for 36 months. OAC from Ford Credit. See dealer for details. And while you're looking at it, maybe get some grub at the Starliner Diner, Saul Bookman.
Yeah, 0% financing right there for 36 months is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you can't beat that. I drove the F-150 XLT last weekend. It was amazing. Listen, I think Ford has continuously really enhanced their vehicles over the years. They used to be behind in the market in terms of technology, and now they're well ahead in a lot of respects. It was such an easy drive. It was intuitive. It was smooth. And the people at Sanderson Ford, I cannot tell you this enough. They are just some of the coolest, down-to-earth people that you could ever meet. Their customer service is off the charts, and that's what they're really well known for. So if you don't want to get that crappy dealer experience, just drive on up here, go to Sanderson Ford, hook yourself up.
The reputation speaks for itself. Check it out, Sanderson Ford. Also, now, something that I don't understand that a lot of people are saying when I look at this team, and it is annoying me. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, Arizona, you don't have a ton of depth. Across the board, I think you got pretty good depth. Now, there are some questions in some certain areas. Now, listen, we're going to start with the quarterback. Listen, if Noah Fafita goes down, obviously your goals are recalibrated, but that goes for about anybody outside of like 4 schools. So miss me with all of that.
Yeah.
You got 4 running backs that I feel all very comfortable with. You get the wide receivers as well. The skill guys, the tight ends are loaded. So I feel incredibly good about the depth at those skill position spots.
Yeah, no, I have zero interest in thinking that this team is not deep in those positions. I think we were going to be completely fine in that regard for sure.
Yes, exactly. And then on the offensive line, we talked about it. I'm a little worried about some of the backups at the tackles, but I think you got 8-9 guys that you feel good about, and that is something that if you look at some of the haters on Twitter, they make it out like you got 3 offensive linemen. No. I feel good about the offensive line as well. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I do want to go back. BCat in the chat says, how does the Arizona depth chart compare to KSU and Utah? That's a teaser. Because on Thursday, we will talk about that very topic right there.
All right, there we go. All right, now let's talk a little bit then about the defensive side of the football. Again, you asked the question at the presser, and Saul, I loved that question. It was a great question about the defensive line and the depth. And you can say, Brent Brennan said, I think we're going to surprise some people. He wasn't saying that. He meant it. I think he's going to surprise some people.
We're going to see. We're going to see. I think the time of just talking, even though that's our job, is just kind of gone now. Fine. Like, I want to get to the game so bad. I think these guys are going to be able to really prove a lot of people wrong this season on the defensive line. At least I hope so. Because if they do, Mike, we're not talking about a team that you hope wins 9 games. We're talking about a team that could legitimately win 10 or 11. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. You got to have tremendous line play.
Right.
That's the ultimate separator between the Georgias and the Bamas to like the West Virginias and the Arizonas, if you will. Like, you have to have tremendous line play because that can keep you in a lot of ball games. We saw it firsthand on Saturday when Florida State and Georgia Tech played each other. Georgia Tech manhandled Florida State up front.
Right.
It wasn't even close. And the fact that you saw that level of dominance from that line, and that really dictated the game. I mean, look at that last drive to win the game for Georgia Tech. They just beat the crap out of Florida State. They even had a 3rd and 17 or a 3rd and 15, got that, and just kept the ball moving. And they waited until the 12-second mark, got out of their huddle, got to the line, snapped it with 3 seconds, and just continued to just bludgeon Florida State. If you can do that and impose your will, it makes it so much easier for everybody else. And I know that's what this coaching staff has been focused on, is really imposing your will. That's why you've seen a lot of 2 tight end sets in camp, because I think that's what they're trying to impress upon everybody. Is like, listen, we're going to go 3 and 4 wide from time to time. We're going to do the gimmicky stuff from time to time. But at the end of the day, you got to beat the hell out of your opponent up front. And I think that's what's going to be the target goal for this team.
Yep. And then you look like we talked about the linebacker. It's unproven, but we're going to find out about that.
I feel like that was my Ron Wolfley moment.
Then, I was going to say,
you just got to beat them in the head.
That was very good. And then with the defensive backs, with the defensive backs, all kinds of really good stuff. Obviously, a loaded defensive backfield. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about New Mexico, because here's where we are. We are beacons of truth in an uncertain world.
Well, let's talk about New Mexico.
Yes.
Get to know the Lobos right here. All-time record of 499, 641, and 31, which is like a 490 win percentage. Is not very good. They've won 4 conference titles. They've been into 12 bowl appearances. They have it listed as Arizona as a rival, which, I mean, geographically, okay, we'll give you that one. And New Mexico State. Their head coach is Bronco Mendenhall, formerly of BYU. And in 2024 so far this season, they are 0-1 with their loss, blowing a 17-point fourth quarter lead to Montana State.
Yes. Now, if you watch that game, I can tell you New Mexico does not impress me very much. They gave up over 370 yards rushing against Montana State.
Well, that's what we're going to get to in a second.
Yeah, exactly. I need Arizona. And in these games, like when coaches are like, well, a win's a win. No. I need to beat the snot out of New Mexico. Period. Point blank. That's what I need. I need to be able to beat the snot out of New Mexico.
It should be on paper an inferior team, but we have 3 things that you're going to want to look out. You have that graphic too? Yes, we got. So this is what you need to know. First, New Mexico is going to have a really tough time stopping the run. As Mike said, Montana State went for 362 yards rushing. If you get them in third down, guess what? Probably going to get out of that and get your offense back on the field, because they were 1 for 8 on third downs last week. And unfortunately for them, 3 key drops in the fourth quarter on third down that could have cemented the game for them.
Right.
And the wide receivers just fell apart when they could at least, afford it. And then Devin Dampier's arm. I wasn't impressed with Devin Dampier's arm. I thought it was, listen, if those receivers come down with some of those catches, he has one more touchdown pass, and he also can be somewhat effective in the air. But I just don't feel like they played a tremendous secondary at all. And I think we should handle business.
You want to know something fun about Devin Dampier? Guess where he's from?
Here.
Tucson, Arizona.
Oh, yeah?
Cool. Born in Tucson, Arizona. Actually, obviously played up here at Chandler, but yeah, cool stuff.
How about that? Yeah.
And here's where I'm at with Dampier. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but at the same time, he's not going to do much for you. Quarterbacks like that, you know what it's like? It's kind of like a poor man's NFL version of Alex Smith. Not going to really get you into any trouble, but you know what? If you get down 14 points, probably not going to be leading you back, though, either. And that's why we expect New Mexico to get down in this game. And when New Mexico gets down in this game, then he's got to start winging the ball a little bit. And then all of a sudden, not so good, Saul Bookman.
Yeah, listen, I don't know how Devin Dampier is going to fare with the versatile looks that Arizona's going to provide. I think what's going to happen is in that first quarter is probably, as usual, will be New Mexico's best opportunity to score, because I think Arizona is probably going to come out in a more vanilla type of look to see how they can control the game. And then from there, they'll twist some things and throw some things in there. But they're not going to give too much away, because, listen, in theory, Arizona should dominate this game. They should dominate the NAU game and get prepared for Kansas State, which will be the first time where you will see a variety of different wrinkles that maybe teams haven't seen before. So I'm excited for this game, mostly because I want to see how dominant we can be without being gimmicky.
You know what? Sometimes, too, the grass isn't greener on the other side. Look at Bronco Mendenhall, for example. Go from BYU to Virginia to, decent mid-level jobs. Now you're in New Mexico. That's, that's a tough place to win. That's a tough place to win. That's a very, very tough place to win. Also, a homecoming for Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. I think that merits a mention on this show as well.
Is it a homecoming?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Is it a homecoming?
Yeah, he was in New Mexico last year.
Yeah, but he's not going to New Mexico though.
Well, yeah, but it's a homecoming still coming back home, though.
Right,
he's coming back home. He's
All
coming
right.
back. We will take him either way.
Okay.
We're very, very
All right.
excited about this.
I think he's going to do well.
Yes, I think he's going to do well as well. I think you're also going to see a running back room that is just going to kind of try to bludgeon teams this year. Now, a lot of ASU folks have been telling me they have a better room. They're wrong. Arizona, Corey Krosky Merritt, Quali Conley, these two guys combined for over almost 2,400 yards last year. I see a lot of those two men.
ASU's got a really, really good running back, but in terms of depth, I mean, we'll just wait to see,
right?
Because honestly, like, what are we talking about here?
And then Rayshon Speedy Luke, I want to see Fam. I want to get. I don't care how it happens. I need Fam to get the ball 8 to 10 times per game. Don't care if it's off returns, receptions, rushing the ball. Get the ball in his hands. This is a good game to start to see it get started there, Saul.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric Duthie in the chat said, I've been doing my best to create hype around Arizona football with my hype videos on Twitter. I refuse to call it that. And my YouTube channel. Yes, Eric Duthie, appreciate all the work that you've been doing. You have been putting out a shit ton of videos. Props to you, my guy.
Yes,
I don't know how you have the time to do that, man.
Eric, you were the man. We very much appreciate you. You do things that I have no clue how to do. So we very much.
Typically, a homecoming is when you go revisit where you came from.
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
That's like saying, I'm gonna go. It's a homecoming if I go see my ex-girlfriend, or my ex-girlfriend's in the city that I live in. That's not the right.
Or maybe it'd be a homecoming if you're going back to Kansas State.
That is a homecoming.
Yeah,
that would be a homecoming. But like Kansas State coming here is not a homecoming.
Well, right, but that's fair. All right, how about this? It's a homecoming of his. That's actually a good
revenge game.
Revenge game.
Revenge game. That's the prodigious Kevin Thomas coming in with the. It
is Dampier's homecoming.
Yes,
there you go,
exactly.
Nick Arenas,
right.
you get it.
Well, I'm glad that we have been able to flush this one out because I think there was a lot of questions about Dampier.
There's just been a lot of lies and a lot of skewing of information of late that I just got to make sure we correct people.
The misinformation around here has been absolutely astounding. And
I mean, have you seen the political ads about, Derek
Montilla?
Just the slander.
Do you remember, was it last year that the guy thought that he was really the mayor on like Apple TV?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, come on. We need to do better. But one thing that doesn't need to do better, Rugged Road, my friend, Rugged Road. Now. When I think of Shane Diefenbach, I think of somebody that likes to hang out in the, probably hang out in the river, hang out in the ocean at times. Yes, exactly. And he's probably not going to want one of those like crummy styrofoam coolers. I think that we can agree with that.
No. Shane is an elite man.
Shane is an elite man. And again, nobody can just take over for the great Jacob Franklin without being elite. And so Rugged Road is saying, Shane Diefenbach, this is for you. Get ready for your summer adventures with Rugged Road coolers. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use code PHNX for 10% off your order. Lightweight, durable, and always floating upright. Perfect on land or in water. So leave that old heavy cooler at home or the styrofoam cooler no good. And go get a better cooler for yourself. Rugged Road, your ultimate outdoor companion. I almost said Saul Diefenbach. Saul Bookman. This is true.
This is true. This is very true. Rugged Road, very, very good, high quality cooler. You can't go wrong. Get 10% off. Use the code.
Plus, doesn't that just sound strong too? It sounds like something you would have in the back of your Sanderson Ford truck.
I mean, true.
I mean,
let's be honest. You're not wrong on that.
Check it out, Rugged Road.
Kobe says Mike for mayor of PHNX. Okay. And then also that he will be going to the game this week. How many of you are going to the game? We will be doing two home meetups this year for sure. One will be for the Colorado game, and then the other will be for the Territorial Cup. We know that for sure. This is true, according to us. And more details will come, but it'll be, listen, we're going to be cooking out. We're going to have a good little tailgate. So if you don't have a spot to go to for those games, come holler at us. Also, we will be doing watch parties. We will be doing some away game watch parties. So you can stay tuned for that as well. But we will not be doing an away game watch party for Kansas State because
we're going to be up in Kansas.
Me and the homie will be in Manhattan getting jacked up.
Looking for some of that great Manhattan seafood.
The little apple is about to get busted.
We're going to find it. Okay, now with when it comes to these first 4 games of the season, I'm going to keep coming back to this. I need to be 3-1. Don't care. Again, I would prefer it to be Utah. But again, that to me is the key of the season. If you're 3-1, I've got a margin for error. Because let's be honest here, we have high expectations around here. We have college football playoffs is what we want. At the end of the day, that's what I want. And if you're 0-2 off those 2 road games, I think it's a very daunting climb.
1,000,000%. The college football playoff, you're right. That is what everybody wants. That's what I want. That's what you want. And really, you can't go wrong. You just got to get in.
Yeah.
Okay. So whether you're an at-large or if you do have that first round bye, even though it sacrifices a home game, that means you won the Big 12 championship,
right,
which is fantastic too.
Right.
So either way, you're going to be happy. I think they have a tremendous opportunity. They got to get it done. And listen, we've seen this movie before. We've seen it about 4 or 5 times in the last 30, 40 years where they have a lot of preseason hype. They come in as shit a couple times before they came in as the preseason number 1. And everything fell apart. We've got to win one of those 2 big-time games in weeks 3 and 5. And if they can get that done, man, listen, if they beat K-State in Manhattan, Kansas, I don't give a shit what anybody says. They are the favorites to win the Big 12 at that point.
Yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And then you go into Utah. Keep in mind here, too, everybody's picking Utah to win the Big 12. Listen, I'm going to keep going back to this. Cam Rising hasn't played in 2 years. So, again, I like Kyle Whittingham a great deal, but I will still believe it when I see it. Just got to be able to see it first. I think people are sleeping on Arizona, and I felt this for the last 2 years. And again, when the line was 2.5 and then Arizona got 5, last year was 5, then they got 10. This year, I think it's kind of the same thing. 7.5 is a steal. Get in there right now. Heck, even if they were to go 0-2, I think they'd still go over the 7.5.
Can you find 5 losses on the schedule?
No, you can't. You can't. Exactly. And let's be honest here. If you're looking at if this team is 7-5, then we probably have some bigger concerns at that point. This is not a 7-5 team.
Rick Barnes gets it. Or I have an idea. We go 2-0 in that stretch.
And if you go 2-0 in that stretch, Arizona's in the top 10. And what's also great about it too is because this is college football at the end of the day, you have a margin for error built in that you don't necessarily have at that point. If you get those 2 road wins, again, you don't want to drop the UCF game, but at the same time, a game like that, you at least got a little bit more margin for error, whereas you got to basically run the table. You go 0-2.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
I mean, so that's kind of where I look at it, and that's where I think to myself that this is a squad that is in very, very good shape. Now, I think it's going to be interesting to watch too, and I was talking with somebody the other day who was telling me this is keep in mind too, all of these Texas games. I think that you're going to see a lot of high profile recruits at some of these games. Saul Bookman. A lot of people are asking about Brent Brennan's recruiting. How's it going to be? I think you're going to see some high profile names coming up here. I'm just wink, nod, little push of the cap. I don't know what that means, but yeah. Either way, I think it's going to be fascinating. But again, 3-1. That's all I need, Saul. Period.
That's all we've ever wanted.
Yes, that's all we ever wanted. Now, now looking forward though, what is your main concern? We talked about this a little bit earlier. Your main concern with this entire team, because again, we're very bullish on this team. What is your main concern though?
I have 2. 1, defensive line, and I will pound that until I see it for myself this week and realize that maybe it's not a worry. And 2, again, there is something to be said about, just adapting to a new coach, a new system, kind of an overhaul inside that building. Like there's going to be some type of learning curve. Now the good thing is you have 2 opponents right off the bat that you should be able to flush out some of those kind of weak points and get ready to go for week 3. So I think that's the biggest thing is this, the fear of the unknown for us.
Right. Now, Steve Hernandez says defense is my line is my concern with Babers' play calling. I was a little bit concerned initially about Babers' play calling, but the one thing that I do say, and I can't put anything out there, is how creative they were being in camp. I was concerned that this was going to be something. I don't want to see Woody Hayes. I don't want to see any of that stuff where it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust and we're preserving the right to punt. I don't want to hear any of that stuff. You're in the year 2024 and you got a high powered attack. He's said many times he knows what he has with Noah Fafita, and I like hearing that at least. Now, again, you got to see it on the football field, but I like hearing that he knows what he has with Noah Fafita. We give him props for understanding this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you look at Babers first couple seasons at Syracuse versus the last couple seasons, you'll see a distinct difference. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping for obviously the former, because he was dynamic in his play calling. And if you look, people go back and look at like Syracuse first, second season under Babers, especially at Clemson. Okay, Clemson, obviously big time program. They've won national championships and all that good stuff. And then you look at like Brett Brennan's offense from last year. Go to the USC game. Okay, those are 2 games I'm giving you right now. First year Clemson, last year for Brennan against USC, and look at the style and the movement and the motion and the trickeration, if that's even a word, that both of them had. The only thing about Babers' offense that I did not like back in those days was they relied a little bit on the quarterback run a little bit too frequently.
Right.
And I didn't like that. But their quarterback was absolute trash. So it is what it is. I don't think they're going to have that problem, obviously, with Noah Fafita. So I'm ready to go.
Fun fact about me, I went to school with Dino Babers' daughters, Solingtom Elementary, my friend, in the east side of Tucson. I'm sure you were concerned about that.
You guys still homies?
Yeah, no, I was significantally older than them. My sister was in the same class as them, though. Okay. So I basically wanted to make this about myself.
You have a sister?
What's that?
You have a sister?
Yeah, I do have a sister. She's much cooler than me, too.
What's her name?
Sarah.
Oh.
Sarah Luke. Sarah Michelle Luke, named after Michael Luke. But on that note, then probably not. But on that note, though, there's also no better time to become a PHNX diehard. We have the great Eric Ruby.
No, we don't. We're not doing that anymore.
I like that.
That's over.
All right, fine. All right, well, no better time to become a PHNX diehard. You can get diehard membership, free t-shirt of your choice from the locker, access to all of our premium written content, entrance to the Discord lounge, and discounts on all events. You'll thank me later. I'll make you a better person if you do this.
Do you have a daughter?
No, that's a long-standing joke on Twitter, but I do not have a daughter.
All right. Well.
That I know of. But
oh, Jesus.
No, I don't have a daughter. Definitely no daughter.
So become a diehard. Listen, being a diehard is second to none, man. Honestly, like, it's gonna be awesome. We do have some news that'll be coming out shortly to make it easier for you to become a diehard. So hopefully we can get that out here in the next couple weeks. We've been working on a lot of things behind the scenes. So become a diehard, because it's the greatest thing ever.
All right. Now, again, check it out. Again, we will be back with you tomorrow. But again, for the prodigious Kevin Thomas behind the scene, Shane Diefenbach sitting in here as well. For the boss, Saul Bookman. Everybody out there, you're the best. You're the ones that make the show. We rely on you. We will be back with you tomorrow. You have been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.